All right. Team, we're heading to Bondi and I'm going to bring you with me. Hopefully, I've taped you guys to here. So I'm hoping that you guys don't fucking fall off. We're gonna see how this goes. I'm going to Bondi today, guys, because I'm meeting up with my client. So what I thought I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kill two birds with one stone, and I'm gonna film the whole thing. We're gonna have a bit of a chat. I'm gonna kind of chat to you about my life and kind of how I've got here so far through content creation, kind of why I'm going to Bondi, who I'm working with, where I'm currently traveling. Bit of like a life update, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of get into this, record the whole thing. Now, I think if I go like this, I think this will track me the whole time, which is sick. Which is why the DJIs are so good, because it will just track me wherever I go. So I don't have to worry about fucking talking. So, where do I live? Well, first of all, I live in Sydney, Australia. So for those that don't know me, I live in Sydney, Australia. I'm 21, and I've lived here my whole life. It's a beautiful area. I live in Avalon Beach, New South Wales. So basically the northern area of Sydney, and it's good. I've lived here, I was born in Manly. I've lived there my whole life, and then I came to Sydney when I was young. Now, growing up, it was cool, man. It was a good area, great lifestyle. I think every single person here, every single kid that lives here knows the lifestyle. You don't have to be afraid of getting stabbed. You don't have to be afraid of going out. You don't have to be afraid of anybody, because the reality is it's a very, very safe home, very safe environment, very safe community, which I love. I love about it. And without Avalon, I probably wouldn't be what I am today. It's my home. I live right near the water. I got my first job down by the marina. So how I kind of started out in my career is I started out working on the water. I worked on the water near my home. When I was 15, I walked down there and asked for a job on the wharf. Now, back then when I used to work there, it wasn't as strict as it was now, and I soon found myself 17 becoming a manager at a marina, and it was cool. It taught me a lot, and a lot of people ask me how I get my entrepreneurial behaviors, why I'm so driven, why I'm so motivated. Well, I would probably say that the marina really instilled that into me, because I had to have such a big responsibility from a young age. From a young age, 15, 16, oh fuck, hopefully I don't run out of fuel. I'm very low, gotta go fuel up. But from a young age, I was managing a marina, fuel, fires, people, coffees, everything. And I feel like that instilled a bit of like superiority into me. I feel like I instilled a bit of confidence, a bit of motivation, a bit of self-belief, which was nice. Now, during that time, what also happened was COVID. Now, in high school, I liked high school. I'm quite smart, so I enjoyed high school. But what did happen is, in high school, COVID happened. Now, I'm young for my year. I'm born in November. I'm a Scorpio. And what happened was my friends were getting, I think it was like $1,000 a week from the government. And I remember at the time, I was just young. I was too young. I got the cutoff before when I could actually get the money. And I remember thinking to myself, like, fuck, this is so unfair. Like, I can't work. I'm stuck inside. I'm getting depressed. I'm not allowed to do the things that I love, go to the gym, hang with my friends, go to the beach, go for a surf. And I remember thinking to myself, like, holy fuck, like, how can I get out of this? And I remember it was a tough time for me. I was definitely depressed. I found it extremely hard to stay inside all day. It was a tough time, COVID. But what it did to me is seeing all my friends around me getting thousands of dollars per week from the government. I remember I was like, okay, so how can I make some money? Because I remember I wasn't making a single cent. And through that, what happened was my next door neighbor at the time was able to leave his house. He was an essential worker, they called him, because he was a gardener. Now, I don't know how that passed, but at the time, being a gardener meant you could be an essential worker. Sorry, I'm turning the AC on. It's too hot in this place. Meant you could be an essential worker. So what I did do is I asked him, I said, look, man, I'm feeling a bit upset. I'm feeling a little bit depressed. is there any chance that I can please come work with you for a day? And he said, you know what, sure. And I did. I worked for him a day, and I soon realized how easy gardening was and how much I kind of enjoyed it. And maybe it was because I was stuck in my home. Maybe it was because I was feeling upset. So any bit of like to get outside, I really enjoyed it. And I said to him, look, I don't want you to pay me, but is there any chance that I could just come and join you? It beats stuck inside. It beats studying online on school. It was a joke. He was like, you know what? Sure, let's do it. So for 2 weeks during COVID, when I think I was 16, I went out and I did gardening, and I did it for free. Now, as much as it annoyed me working for free, one, it got me out of the house, but what it did teach me is how to actually do gardening. And I soon realized how easy gardening was and how much money these guys were making, how much money my gardener was taking away, and how easy the job was. And I soon realized how easy it is to grow a lawn. So as soon as that finished, I thought to myself, okay, fine, I'm gonna do this myself. So what I did is I took my lawnmower, my whippersnipper, secretly inside COVID, so don't come at me if you're one of those guys who's like, oh, you gotta leave your house in COVID. Shut the fuck up, man. So what I did is I went out and I spoke to my next door neighbors, and I spoke to my street, and I said, hey, look, I'm looking just for a little bit of extra work. Any chance I can do it? And what happened was I managed to go to this. I live in quite an expensive area, I won't lie. I am very blessed in that way. I live in a very, very prestigious area that costs a lot of money to live in. And the houses next to me are extremely ludicrous. People pay millions of dollars to live there. Now, the reason why this worked in my favor is because what happened was I walked into this person's house. Her name was Michelle. She was an older lady. And I said, hey, look, and I was very nervous. And I was like, look, any chance I can mow your lawn? I'll do it for $20. She was like, sure. And I did it. And what I didn't expect her to do is she posted after that on Avalon What's On, which is a community page. And she said, hey, this young man came to my door and he knocked on my house. If anyone needs gardening, please let me know. And what I didn't know is she was actually the best real estate agent in my area. One of a very, very well sought after real estate agent. And soon I learned that she didn't just own that house, she owned multiple properties around Sydney. Now, what happened from that then was amazing. I then went from having no clients to around 50 DMs. I think it was like 40 or 50 DMs of people saying, hey, can you please come mow my lawn? And that's when it started. And that's when I started to create this gardening business called RJ Gardens. And I started with my friend, his name was Raf, and it was Raf and Jake. And through there, we started taking off and we started to do gardening business like together, and we joined ventures. And what happened from there is he then kind of went off and did his own thing, which was great. But after high school, I kept going. And I slowly built out a team. I slowly built out a bit of a team to a point where it got to a point where it was basically just running itself and I didn't have to do it. Now, along this journey, I had the gardening business going for me, and that showed me my first bit of taste of working not so hard while other people worked for you, which was great sense, but I was still on the tools. Now, in that meantime, what also happened is I got my captain's license, and I was a captain at a marina, which was great, but the reality is it wasn't really a hobby. I just kind of got into it at the time because it was a hobby at the time. But over time, what happened, I slowly worked my way up to become a captain, where at 19, I got my captain's license and I started driving for a local marina. Now, this was great, don't get me wrong. Like, I was driving a boat at 19, getting paid $50 an hour while I had guys on the tools working for my gardening business. I was probably raking in around 2 to 3K a week at 19, and it was sick. I was living out of home, I was enjoying life, but I never really felt fulfillment. I never really felt like this was it. Of course, like a gardening business, and I started to be a captain as a hobby, but the reality is I still felt lost. I still felt sad, and I wasn't sure on where I was going to go. So I decided to stop the gardening business, and I decided to go into university. Now, this was a big change for me because I actually got into early entry, which for those that don't know, early entry is when you can submit to get into university, get accepted, but you don't have to go, you just defer. So I got into university, and what happened was I deferred the first year out of high school to work full time to get my captain's license and to work on the business. But then I decided to go to university to study business and economics. Now, when I went to university, this was kind of a different game park because what happened was I went from making around 100K a year at 19, maybe a bit more, a bit less, whatever. And I went to making $1,000 a week, and it was fucked. And I remember being like, this is fucked. Like, I'm not making any money. But in the meantime, I moved back home because my parents moved away and then they came back, which was good. So I moved back in with my parents, and so I didn't need the money, but I was used to making the money. And I think this is why now when I look back at it, why I was so driven to do more at an early age, because I knew that it was possible. I knew that was possible. And I think what I see with a lot of kids these days is they don't actually know it's possible. They don't know how possible it is to make an income online, and they don't really have a clear understanding about where they need to go to do it. So in university, what happened is, again, I still didn't have this purpose. I still didn't have this fulfillment. I still wasn't really sure on where I was wanting to go. So what happened was I ended up reaching out to a marketing agency when I just fresh turned 20. Now, this marketing agency, I just happened to do a bit of background research on Instagram, and I managed to secure a job. And they are probably the foundation to why I'm here today. Because what happened is they gave me a shot, and I cold called them and I said, hey man, his name's Chris. I said, hey Chris, look man, I don't really have any experience. However, I'm super keen to work. Can you give me a job? He's like, look, sorry, I'm not hiring. However, I'd love to have a coffee and we can meet. Now, in this process, what happened is I went out and spoke to him and I said, hey, look, I would really love a job. I explained kind of what I had done in the past, kind of what I was working towards, etc., kind of what I had going. And he was kind of like, look, man, I don't really have a job, but let's still chat. So we met up for a coffee, and after an hour and a half later, he turned around and he said, you know what? I really like you. Let's get you in. And it was crazy. It was awesome, man. And so what happened is he gave me a job. Him and his brother, they were the marketing. They both owned it. And probably to this date, one of the most foundational, I would say, leaders in my time to really give me a chance. Because what happened is I, over that period of time, slowly started to see the power of social media. I wasn't doing it at the time, but I saw, because I started looking at paid advertisement because I was working in a marketing agency. And I started to see the power of organic social media, and it tempted me. It really tempted me until a point where I started posting. Now in this journey, what also happened is I was still working for Jason Chris, and I slowly was getting better and better, and I passed my 3-month trial period to the point where they gave me a full-time role. And I got to a point where, again, I was still lost. I still didn't know what I wanted to achieve. And I said to him, I said, look, man, I'm gonna go all in on this social media thing. And it was slowly building up. I was slowly getting more and more bought into it. I saw more value. I was hanging around more guys that were getting into the industry when it came to like the founders. I was working with big CEOs, running their paid advertisements, spending thousands and thousands of dollars. But the reality is I asked them, I said, why are you guys not doing social media? And they said, we don't know how. And I said, that's fair enough, because I don't know either, so I'm gonna learn. So then what happened is I said, all right, if I'm gonna do this, I need to go all fucking in. I'm lost, I don't know what to do with my life, I'm not sure where I wanna go. I need to go all fucking in on this dream. So what I did is I told Jason Chris and I said, look team, I don't know if you wanna support it, but I'm gonna go over to Bali. I'm gonna go all in for 6 months. If I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. And they said, you know what, Jake, we're gonna support you. You can transition online. And to that day, it gives me chills. To that day, without Jason Chris, I would have nothing, because I probably wouldn't have gone to Bali. If I hadn't had the chance to go work online, making, I think it was like $400 a week, I wouldn't have done it, because I was so tied to making money at the time that I knew if I had to go to Bali, I didn't have enough. I wasn't making enough, and I knew I didn't want to go on my savings, because at the time I was so keen to just save up for something. So they gave me the chance, and yeah, that's where it all started. I moved to Bali and I went all in every day, 5 a.m. to about at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. I would wake up, content, study content. I just had to understand how it worked, because I knew I could do it. I knew that anybody can make content. I just knew how to do it. And as soon as I observed more and more, I soon realized that content wasn't just about going viral. It was about strategy. It was about understanding the types of reels that you're posting, the message behind it, and what it's trying to achieve. And the more as I studied, I understood everything. I realized, okay, I'm gonna make it. And there was a 2-week period there where I was gaining around 200 followers a day. And I remember it so specifically. And I said to my friend, I said, look, I'm about to blow up. And this is where I met, as you guys know, Alfie Gets Hard. And we met in Bali, but what also happened is I also ended up paying and joining his community, Amplify, because like I said, I was still getting results. However, I wasn't seeing max potential, and I wanted it so badly. So what I did is I paid Amplify. Now, was quite funny because I joined Amplify. And as soon as I joined Amplify, I joined it for a specific reason. I messaged Alfie and I said, hey man, I'm about to blow up. When I do, I would love a job. And he just kind of laughed. He was like, yeah man, I like it, good job. As you would. Like I wouldn't expect him to do anything else. And so, oh sorry, what's happening? All right team, I'm pulling into the servo actually. So I'm gonna get a slushy, I'm gonna fill up my car and then we'll carry this combo. Let's get it. All right, we're back. Got some fuel, got a slushy 7-Eleven. So, I know I'm gonna get sweaty because this car doesn't really have that good of AC, but. So where was I? So what happened then is I went to Bali and I went all in on the dream, like I told you. I started strategizing everything. I started thinking about everything. And what happened was I joined that Amplify. And I said to Alfie, I said, hey man, what's happened is I'm joining Amplify, but I want to be part of the community. I see the vision, I see the future. This is early days of Amplify as well. If you guys know what Amplify is, it's just a massive creative community. Alfie Get Hardy probably was the reason why I started social media. So I was like, all right, I want to work with my idols. I want to get amongst it. It was also a great way for me to start earning a bit more money online. What happened was I blew up. I posted one video and it got me like 20,000 follows. And from there, my account just started going insane. It started doing numbers. Now, that video, I documented that journey. So what happened was before that, I was posting so many videos, documenting the journey, saying I was gonna blow up, Everyone was like, nah, you're not gonna do it, I was like, I know I'm gonna do it because I know the strategy behind content. And it blew up. Got me like 10,000 followers overnight, and I could say basically my life changed from that reel, because what happened was Alfie then offered me a job because I said, look man, this happened. And he offered me a job and he put me straight away on a $5,000 per month retainer. Now the reason why he did that is because I was building out inside his community a module on storytelling, because I blew up using, at the time, which was trending, storytelling type of content. Now, for those that are wanting to create content, wanting to actually create an authentic personal brand, I do one-to-one coaching now on storytelling. So if this is something that you are interested in, how to grow an authentic personal brand, hit me up. I'll be seeing if you're even a good fit to work with, and I can see if I can even help you. Now, what happened outside of that is Alfie offered me a job, which really solidified my message, because I knew I had the skills, I knew I had the knowledge, because I was studying it now for like 6 months. But until you grow the following, the proof isn't really in the pudding. So what happened was Alfie then gave me that job, and everything kind of changed. I started to make a bit of an income online. I was also doing a bit of fitness coaching at the time. I scaled that to like 10K per month through fitness coaching, but I started to really get into the personal branding. I started to really, really love it. I started to see the potential that it had, and I started to see what opportunities it had. So what then happened is I came back to Sydney and I said, you know what? If I'm gonna work for somebody, I didn't start social media to work for somebody. And I was working for Alfie for like 3 months now. I was like, I'm gonna start up my own thing. And so I did. I started working directly one-to-one with creators and founders, growing their authentic personal brand. And it was crazy, man. I knew I was good at growing personal brands because it solidified my message inside Alfie. But until you work directly one-to-one with someone, as any of you would know, you learn everything that person needs to see results. It's a crazy difference between working in a community. And it blew up. In 3 months, I did around $100,000 AUD, because so many people wanted my help. I have very good, I would say, my strategy when it comes to growing on personal brand is very good. All it comes down to is understanding your ICP, your USP, who you're targeting, and telling your authentic message. Now, you need to think about it, right? To post online, you have to be a creative director, you have to be an editor, you have to be a script writer, you have to be a musician. It's extremely hard to do it all at once. So I help you do that. And I made this one-to-one program where I work directly one-to-one with you, and I still do it today. However, in that process, what happened is I scaled quite fast, which was great, but it's not scalable. That model isn't 100% scalable, and you can only up the price so much. So In this process, I came across a great creator named Reed. Now, me and Reed, backstory, actually started together when we both had 300 followers in Bondi Beach, where I'm going today. And it's crazy, man, to even think about that, to see where we are today, both owning very, very successful businesses together. It was crazy. And so what happened is recently, around 5 months ago, Reed and I decided we're going to join our one-to-one and we're going to create a community, our own community, because we know that in Sydney, Australia, we are the best creators and we are the best to help you grow your personal brand. And so what happened through this, we then launched offers. Again, it took off. We did insane numbers in the first 2 months, around 50K AUD each month. And from there, what then happened is I started to actually help people grow and scale their businesses, because what happened is I was working directly with founders, and my content started to elevate. I started to speak more directly to the people that I wanted to work with, because at the start I was kind of speaking broad to every creator, and then I started to really tailor it to founders. Now what happened is I also started working directly with founders wanting to grow their business, and it was crazy. I'm only 21 and I was helping guys hit 100K months at 21. And so what I soon realized is, okay, I love the content, but I'm also loving the business. The business, to me, my whole life. I launched and sold my first business when I was 19. I started up multiple businesses, and I've also always been around business. It's just been something that's been so ingrained to me. I have so much passion for it. It's insane. And so what happened is I found myself really fucking loving scaling people's businesses, especially as a growth operator. So sitting behind them, growing their content, but their business at the same time, because you can never ask yourself, are you an influencer or you're a business owner? Now, from there, that then took off. I basically started sitting behind growth operators, and I called myself a growth operator, where basically the role is to scale businesses, scale brands, and sit behind them. So now what happened is I have a mid-tier ticket with Reed, which is our community. I had a high-tier ticket, which is my one-to-one, where I scale brands personally myself. And then what happened is I realized, okay, this is great, but the reality is, if I want to be in this for the long term, I need to build a legitimate business. Now, I'm not saying coaching isn't a legitimate business, because I've done very, very successful today, and I still do coaching. However, I didn't want to rely on it, because what was happening is the income and was tying to my results. I was trying to get so many one-to-one guys. However, as you know, what happens when you scale up fast, your time becomes thin and you start sitting on hours of phone calls. And so that's when the agency launched, the Done For You agency, where me and Reed did a trip to Bali. And what happened is, for our community, for our one-to-one, we had guys wanting us to do it all. We wanted them to scale our business, scale the content, and do everything for them, script, edit, film. And we decided, you know what, we're gonna do it. And that's when our agency, Done For You, launched. Now, Done For You is only about 3 months old now, and we have around 6 clients on it. But basically what it is, it's content creation, ideation, scripting, editing, filming if you're in Australia. If you're not in Australia, we don't film. We just give you directions on filming. And then what happened through there, that's it. Now we have our agency. Now I do one-to-one high ticket coaching, but it's very selective. I have a waiting list, and each month I take on 2 individuals to scale their business, because my agency now, I'm not in the agency anymore, I'm on the agency. And for those that you don't know what that means, it's when you're not actually building anything out, you're just managing. I have teams, I have employees. It scales very fast, and you know this, when you post on content, the trust and the authenticity is there, so you can gain clients very, very quickly. And if you understand how the business operation works, which a lot of influencers don't, which I happen to do, I was able to scale it very fast. And so now what happens is I have my agency, which we kind of have KPIs we need to hit every month, and kind of have an understanding about how it's just growing. And what this is such a scalable model. An agency, as any of you know, so scalable. The more people you bring on, the more you hire. It's inevitably scalable. Then we have our mid-tier ticket community, which I take 1 call a week on. So does Reed. We manage that as well. And then I have my 1 high ticket, where each month I just take on 2 guys, very, very passionate guys who are willing to go at a high ticket price, and I scale their business to infinity and beyond. The recent guy that I've done, she is Australia's best B2B closer for high ticket sales, tech sales. She does around 600K a month in her personal take-home income. Now, what she doesn't do is B2C. She closes for B2B, but she wants to launch her own sales offer, and she wants to help people get into B2B closing. So what I did is I've taken her on, and this is this month. So what's the date? The 25th. So at the start of this month, I took her on. She was at 4,000 followers. Today, she's at 13.25K followers. So 13,000 followers. If you want to search her up, her name's Kayla Stanley, because I always like to show proof of purpose. Now, what's also happened is in this time, we also instantly launched her offer because I knew the authority she has. She's great at sales. She has a lot of value to give. She just didn't understand how to tell a story. She didn't know how to create an offer. She didn't know how to advertise herself. She didn't know how to sell. We've done 55K cash collected. I'm going to insert a screenshot just here so you believe me. In 25 days. It's amazing. So through that, I've been able to gain a lot of authority in the space. I also sit behind a bunch of other offers that you guys wouldn't know. And yeah, and now I'm kind of in this position where I'm scaling brands, scaling businesses, and scaling my agency all at 21. It's amazing, man. I often forget how blessed I am and how grateful I am for this life. Which brings me to today and why I'm going to Bondi, and probably why you think I'm starting this at all is because I recently signed a young kid. He's 20. I'm not going to drop his name because we only started working together and I want it to come out as a surprise, but you would have seen him on your For You page. He's an amazing operator. And this is why I believe one conversation can lead to endless opportunities. This guy reached out to me and he said, hey man, I'd love to catch up. I didn't even think I was going to close him as a client. Wasn't even thinking in my mind. We called up just to catch up and we started chatting and he started explaining his business to me. And I said to him, look man, I'm gonna be full honest, there's a lot of issues here. And I started giving him some free value. At the end of the day, he turned around to me and he said, look, you've caught me at the best time. Can I work with you? I'm in the market for a growth operator. I don't know how to scale this business. He's only 20 years old. He's doing extremely good at the moment, but he wants to scale to around 200, 150K months. And he said, look, I need you. And I said, look, I don't want to do this. I don't ring on people. He said, no, please. That day, he paid me $10,000 right then and there. Now, the reason why I say this is because it is so crucial that if you get an opportunity that you think is worth it, you take it. And that's why I'm heading to Bondi today, because I'm actually staying at his because he's 20. I'm 21. We have a great relationship and he's in Bondi. So part of me coaching is, as I said, I'll do some in-person coaching sessions, but I also have a few client meetings in the morning. So I said to him, look, he's doing so well. He booked out an Airbnb in Bondi. He said, look, come stay at mine tonight. We'll work on it. And then you can get up in the early and dip. So yeah, man, that's my kind of current situation and like where I'm currently at. I'm looking to go to Gold Coast. I just booked an Airbnb for the whole of March. That's basically just to get out of Avalon, get out of Sydney. Sydney's good, but the issue is there's not many like-minded individuals. There's not many individuals who are wanting and striving to do what I want to do. Now, I'm not saying there's individuals who are not striving for more, but the reality is everyone's in a different industry to I am. And so if I want to succeed and if I want to be the best in the space, I need to go surround myself with guys that are actually in the industry that I'm doing so I can compare myself and I can learn. So I'm going to the Gold Coast and then I'm going straight to Bali and then I'm off to Europe for 90 days. I'm going to be documenting the whole journey. I'm very excited to take you guys along with me, yeah. And yeah, I'm excited for this next journey ahead. It's all about making money, building the foundation, building a great life, being present in the moment, being super happy, and just enjoying my youth, man. I'm only 21. I take it super seriously because life is serious. If you don't build a good life, man, like it's hard. If you don't have the money, and I don't need the money for the cars, like I'm driving a $2,000 car right now, but if you don't have the foundation set, it's hard. You don't get to do things when you want. You have to live by someone else's rule. You have to eat out of your lunchbox when someone says to you, that's not what life's about. You just need to take life by your hands and you need to take control because anyone can create a great life. It's up to you. And that's why I take it so seriously. And that's why I think in times like this, when I'm really pushing the needle forward, I often think to myself, why am I doing this? But as I reflect on these videos, as I reflect on how far I've come, it reminds myself how far yet I have to go and how far I still have to achieve and how much I want to achieve. Because in this life, I'm not the only one that wants big things. However, I'm the only one that's actually gonna do it because I know I'm gonna win out of any single other person. I'm gonna win over everyone else, and that's not me comparing. That's just me saying that no one else is willing to put in the work that I'm willing to put in. No one's willing to get up at 4:30, 5 a.m. every single day and work till 10 p.m. Now, I'm not saying work is the biggest thing, but the reality is if you're not pushing the needle forward every day, you're never gonna win. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and I appreciate you guys listening. I'm going super hard on YouTube, and I'm very excited to really take YouTube to the next level. I think it's a platform that I'm very excited to be on. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.